Well, all right, it is time now to take you to NBC for this special report. We join them.
This is an NBC News special report. Here's Lester Holt.
Good afternoon, everyone. We're coming on the air with an update of the Iowa caucus, a news conference by the Iowa State Democratic Party, which has struggled since the caucuses ended last night to provide any results. They're holding a news conference right now. Let's take you there.
About what happened last night. The reporting of the results and circumstances surrounding the 2020 Iowa Democratic Party caucuses were unacceptable. As chair of the party, I apologize deeply for this. Last night, we were faced with multiple reporting challenges and decided, out of an abundance of caution, to protect the integrity of the Iowa caucuses and their results by taking the necessary steps to review and confirm the data. A thorough, transparent, and independent examination of what occurred yesterday will follow. But let me be clear. My #1 priority has been on ensuring the accuracy and integrity of the results. And we have been working all night to be in the best position to report results. And here, in just a couple of minutes, we will be reporting 62% of precincts from all 99 counties. The bottom line is that we hit a stumbling block on the back end of the reporting of the data. But the one thing I want you to know, we know this data is accurate. And we also have a paper trail and documentation that have been able to use to provide information to help verify the results. This is personal to me. I'm a lifelong Iowan. I have caucused for 20 years. And I know how important it is to our party, to our state, and to everyone, from our neighbors to new voters, to be able to come together all across this state. We want Iowans to be confident in the results and in the process, and we are going to take the time that we need to make sure that we do just that. So I know folks are going to want to be seeing the results as they come in, but I'm happy to take a couple of quick questions before that happens.
How can anyone trust you now?
We have been working day and night to make sure that these results are accurate. The one thing I will say is that the underlying data, the raw data, is secure. It was always secure. This was a coding error in one of the pieces on the back end, but the raw data, the data that has come in, is secure, and I can assure Iowans of that.
Do you worry this could cost you your first-in-the-nation status? Do you worry it could cost you your first-in-the-nation status or endanger the caucuses as a nation?
The fact is that this is a conversation that happens every 4 years. There's no doubt that that conversation will take place again. But right now, my focus is making sure that we get these results out. We are going to continue to do that, and we will have the results out as soon as we can. Jeff.
When do you believe you'll get to 100%? And how can you assure Americans that these are verifiably accurate results?
Well, we're going to take the time we need to get these results done. Now that we have the first batch that's going to be coming out here in a couple of minutes, we're going to continue to go through our processes, verifying everything. But the thing to remember here, folks, is that we have a paper trail. We have always said all along that throughout this process that we have backups to this system, that we have redundancies built in. And one of the ways that we do that is through the paper trail. Now, the fact is that as we started doing this last night, it took longer than we expected. And so, but my paramount concern is making sure that these results are accurate and reflect what happened last night in caucuses across the state. We're going to do just that, and we're going to take the time we need to do that.
When was the app submitted for review by an independent third party? Why was the app never tested statewide? And why did the Iowa Democratic Party deny the Department of Homeland Security's offer to test the app?
We have, I have no knowledge of the Department of Homeland Security making that offer to us. I will say that we have worked with cybersecurity experts, nationally renowned cybersecurity experts, to test this app and to do testing and security checks on this app. So we we took the steps we felt was necessary, but we found a coding error last night once we discovered some irregularities as the results started to come in. Yeah.
But why was it never tested?
Testing when you had the internal testing or the third-party testing?
What's that?
Were there any coding discrepancies during the third-party testing?
No, there weren't, and that's why what happened last night is simply unacceptable. And so again, we're going to have a thorough and independent review of exactly what happened last night. Right now, we're in the process of making sure that we get these results out, and that's what we're going to stay focused on. Yeah. Yeah.
Donald Trump has suggested that this whole process is rigged. How do you combat that? How do you assure Americans that this is trustworthy, this data?
We have said all along that we were going to make these caucuses the most transparent possible. This year, we're reporting out more data than we ever have reported before. And in addition to that, we have paper trails that we've never had before. And so we're going to take the time we need to verify these results, but these results are being based off what happened in the precincts last night.
Are you feeling pressure to step aside? Troy, this is your role.
When I ran for chair, I made a commitment to see the caucus process through. That is what I am working on. That is what I will continue to work on. And whatever happens after that is to be determined. Anyways, thank you all, folks. The results are coming in. We will see you later.
All right, so still a lot of unanswered questions there. You heard the Iowa Democratic Party Chairman Troy Price walking through what he says was a coding error, that there will be 62% of the precincts reported here in all 99 counties, but clearly unfinished business. And whatever those numbers will be, which we would hope to see quite shortly, we don't know if those are reflective of what the final outcome will be. Let's listen in some more.
We are focusing on getting these results out, and we will get them out.
What's the app ready to go? Why were people not trained? Why were we people not trained?
Nicole, that was...
All right, Mr. Price, leaving the room right now. Okay, here are the numbers that have been fed into us now, and you see that Pete Buttigieg at 27%, Sanders 25%, followed by Warren and Biden. Again, these are not necessarily reflective of what the final outcome would be. We're told this is 62% of the precincts reporting. Chuck Todd is with me right now. Chuck, what do we read in these numbers?
Just so people know, and those three-digit numbers there are the delegate equivalents, the state delegate equivalents. It's not a vote there itself, and I know we had 95% in the corner there, but I think at this point we have not verified a thing. This is the Iowa Democratic Party's numbers. The Iowa Democratic Party, this is them, and I say that because I know a lot of times we do have a chance sometimes to verify numbers. We do not are able to do this.
This is not a read the numbers and run away and say,
that's right. So I think that this is obviously problem one for the Iowa Democratic Party, is that there are going to be people that never accept these results. But the results themselves, I mean, it's sort of, we had a hint in our entrance polls that Bernie Sanders and Pete Buttigieg had done quite well and seemed to do a little bit better than the other three major contenders there, Biden, Warren, and Klobuchar. And obviously the big story, and perhaps it's still a big story today, although again, you know, these results they're going to be contaminated. I mean, let's just be honest. You know, he's trying to say they're not, but it is going to feel contaminated to some folks no matter what. But the fact of the matter is, fourth place for Joe Biden's is catastrophic.
Yeah, the mantra.
I mean, there's no other way to put it.
The mantra for the Democratic Party in Iowa has been to protect the integrity of the election. You heard numerous questions, good questions from reporters about how do we know we can trust this information. Mr. Price says there will be an independent examination of this data, but again, we have not seen all the data. Peter Alexander has more now from Iowa. How are the candidates reacting to this? I know those numbers we've seen are fresh, but what have we heard so far?
Yeah, Lester, what was striking to me is earlier in the day, for example, we heard from Elizabeth Warren, who was complaining that the Iowa Democratic Party would only be releasing this partial data, not the full results, in effect saying, what good does that do us? 2/3 of the way through the night doesn't show you the final tally. So there's real frustration from the Warren campaign. It's not the only campaign that's been frustrated. It created this remarkable vacuum, though, last night, where as the evening drew on and as the anger, embarrassment, and astonishment continued, continued. It allowed for each of the campaigns to get before the people of Iowa and effectively declare victory. Among them, Pete Buttigieg, who said that he had shocked the nation. And if we are to believe at least the numbers that we're seeing right now, it's possible that with 27%, if a number like that were to hold, that Buttigieg really would have had a dramatic win in a state like this, a win that he was relying on. Remember, he only had competed heavily in this state of Iowa and in New Hampshire, so the impact is going to be significant, and it raises the stakes no matter how soon we get the final tally here in New Hampshire as the candidates head that way. Bernie Sanders, before departing for the First in the Nation primary in New Hampshire, was asked if this will sort of undercut the Democratic process, or at least trust in that process. He said it's a good question. He said this is not a good thing, and it was not a good night.
Yeah, we do not know who won. Those numbers, again, coming from the Iowa Democratic Party, but
we got more of them there,
finished.
Lester. We got them extended there. We start to see where Klobuchar is, the 5th candidate to get into double digits there. I think it's important to show her numbers and just show you that there was sort of, there's Buttigieg and Sanders, and a little bit of space, then Warren Biden and
the
Klobuchar.
Candidates are going to be quick to season these numbers, even though they're incomplete.
Oh, they are. And I think, that, like I said, this is a huge problem for Joe Biden because he needed to show a sign of life here. He made a financial investment into Iowa, trying to basically go all in. He is running on fumes. Pete Buttigieg has a significant number of major fundraisers that have been helping his campaign. I think Team Biden thought if they could top Buttigieg, sort of make the case that he's not going to be able to make it, there was some donors to be had there. It now may be the reverse. It's Buttigieg that could go and grab Biden donors if we start to see this field sort of split between a Sanders lane and if Buttigieg is suddenly the moderate.
And we're missing 38% of these numbers as of right now. Cynthia McFadden has some new reporting on what went wrong in Iowa last night. Cynthia, what do you know?
Well, you know, when you hear Troy Price talk, it doesn't sound like there was much that went wrong. He denied what the acting Secretary of Homeland Security said earlier today. He said that the Iowa Democrats just turned them down when they offered to come in and road test this, security test this app. He says he didn't know anything about that. But in fact, the app was really a failure. It wasn't just that there were calculation problems with the app. It was also that a lot of the people who were supposed to be able to get on the app to file results were not able to either open the app or their security clearances were not sufficient to be able to use the app. So there were a lot of questions. And then when they went to the phone, which was sort of the backup, we know that some people waited for 2 hours or more to try to file results. So contamination, I think so. Insecurity about the result, perhaps. And one of the complications is just who created that app. Iowa Democrats would not tell us in advance, but we have now determined that it was a company a company that is affiliated with a company called Acronym, and now Acronym's CEO is married to a senior advisor of Pete Buttigieg. And his brother also works on that campaign in Iowa. So no matter what some people say at this point, that, you know, there's no leakage, there's no contamination, there are going to be those who believe that this app itself was leaning towards Mayor Pete. So there are a lot of issues yet to be explored. Shadow, the company that made it, has apologized today. But whether that is enough and whether people's confidence can be regained is an interesting question.
Might we see this app in other primaries or caucuses?
Well, Nevada has said they had paid money to the same developer, to the shadow developer. Iowa paid about $60,000 for the app. Today, Nevada's saying, we are not going to work with that app developer, and we are not going to use that app, and we're leaving our options open to what we might do.
All right, Cynthia, thank you. There you see the numbers. These are the ones we were just given, representing 62% of the vote in all 99 counties. And Chuck, we heard the Democratic Party chair say, we'll take the time we need now to figure out the rest of this. What does that do to this race? I mean, we can't be frozen in this moment, can we?
It's not. And what it's done is, look, I think there would have been perhaps 2 or 3 semi-major candidates who wouldn't have made it to New Hampshire based on this. I mean, it's possible a result like this last night, Amy Klobuchar doesn't go to New Hampshire. It's possible a result like this, and Joe Biden is trying to skip New Hampshire. So I think what it does is all of these candidates now feel as if There's enough questions about these Iowa results. There's enough people scratching their head about it that they'll convince themselves they can go. So what you're going to have is New Hampshire now, which hasn't really served as this in a while, really not since Bill Clinton 92, is suddenly a little more important than we expected to be. Pressure will be on Bernie Sanders. A lot of people expected him to win here. Not winning here, by the way, is I think a small disappointment to them. Finishing second was the minimum they could do, but it puts pressure on Bernie. I think you're going to have a more diluted field, so I think a very tiny percentage could actually win. The interesting thing about this 27%, this is one of the lowest percentages ever for a potential Iowa caucus winner, and that number could continue to move actually down, or a percentage point here, a percentage point there, considering we have a third of the vote still to come. But this muddles the race a little bit. I think this is suddenly an opening for Michael Bloomberg, who is skipping this February contest. The more muddled, his whole gamble was, I'm hoping a different person wins every week. A different person wins Iowa, and right now he might get his wish. Buttigieg in Iowa, Sanders in New Hampshire. He'd love to see a Biden win Nevada, for instance, or Biden in South Carolina, let Warren win Nevada. That's what he wants, because then Super Tuesday is also a muddle. That's what this has done. Iowa weeded out a bunch of candidates last year, candidates that couldn't raise money to stay in debates and things like this. But now these caucuses aren't really weeding anybody out, per se, although I don't know what Joe Biden's campaign does now. I'll just be honest with you. I think you're the former vice president. Your entire candidacy was based on electability. And we saw it last night. He didn't win that number. Pete Buttigieg won that number. So that to me is what is his rationale for going forward? How does he convince more donors to keep giving him money? That's a big challenge for him going forward. All right,
Chuck, and that is the latest in the Iowa caucus, which left the candidates and many others saying on to New Hampshire, which holds its primary 1 week from today. I'll see you shortly with the complete wrap-up tonight on NBC Nightly News. And again, we'll be back for the President's State of the Union remarks. For now, I'm Lester Holt, NBC News, Washington. Good day.
Breaking news, you just saw it there, almost 24 hours.